Hello guys, Dom here, up late this evening or early. It's early hours of it's just gone midnight. I wanted to do something a little bit different here rather than do a news roundup or a vlog. I'm going to talk through a story that's just broken. I had an embargoed release around this, and I think it's quite an important and interesting one. And I'm doing this video format for those of you who prefer to listen to a video and listen, and hear a story through that kind of medium, or can't be bothered to read or don't like reading or whatever. So I'm going to read through it and analyse it. And basically, it's the results of the government's DCMS committee, their inquiry into immersive and addictive technologies. So they basically recommended the UK government ban the sale of loot boxes to children, and more specifically, or maybe of interest to you guys that like esports, they want esports to uphold traditional sports practices, and I'll come on to that in a minute. I couldn't help myself here. It's actually quite a serious issue, but I couldn't help myself with a meme image. Do you remember when EA's legal VP Kerry Hopkins told the UK government that EA doesn't refer to in-game loot boxes as loot boxes but surprise mechanics, and that they're quite ethical? Well, of course, that was met with a lot of cynicism and criticism from the games industry, from YouTubers, from streamers, gaming personalities, news outlets, and so on. And a lot of people were annoyed that she had compared, or EA compares, loot boxes to the likes of Kinder Eggs and things like that, toys where you Lego minifigure packs where you don't know what you're going to get. Because it is very different, obviously, if you're spending 40-50 quid on a game and then you're spending hundreds of pounds on FIFA packs or whatever else to get in hopes of getting a rare item just by spending loads of money. Some people might get Messi after spending 30 quid, some people might not have Messi after spending £1,000. So I could see the people's criticism of those comments, and basically the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS, has concluded its inquiry. They've published an 82-page report. I think it might be on their website now. It says report still to be published on 12th of September. But yeah, the embargo lifted at 1 minute past midnight on the 12th of September today, and they've checked that link throughout Thursday, Friday, to see if you want to see the full report. I've read it all. I've spent most of this evening reading the whole report, 82 pages. And one member of the UK games industry said that it was a total nuclear assault on the games industry. Basically, the DCMS are calling on the government to regulate video game loot boxes under the Gambling Act and ban their sale to children. So they recommended that loot boxes that contain the element of chance not be sold to children, and we have better labelling on games that have loot boxes with parental advisories or descriptors explaining that and making it clear. And it could mean that any games company using loot boxes in the future may need to obtain an operating licence. So does this mean we're going to see a bill passed in government, and the Gambling Commission, the regulator in the UK, looking at this more closely now? I say it's a strong possibility, and interestingly, what I mentioned at the start about esports, the report states that esports should adopt and enforce the same duty of care practices enshrined in physical sports, and that are enforced by sporting governing bodies. And it actually quoted ESL UK, some written evidence, and ESL UK said, as the industry grows, there will be a need for increasing professionalisation and regulation, and that the formation of a professional esports players association could act as a mechanism to prevent exploitation in a young and growing industry. So that's interesting. What we're going to see, how's esports going to evolve? Do we have this professional players association? How are we going to have better regulation when all the publishers already kind of regulate their own games? But obviously the rules in League of Legends are going to be vastly different to Clash Royale and so on. Street Fighter and FIFA all have different rules, and then there's third party organisers as well. How's that all going to work? Who's going to do all that? stuff, because some people say, oh, the British Esports Association is run by the government. It's not. They put out a statement before I joined, basically saying that if you don't know, I work for British Esports as well. I run Esports News UK in my part-time, so there's a bit of blurred lines there. It's not set up or operated by the government. It's a not-for-profit independent organisation to promote grassroots esports. It does tournaments with schools and colleges. It's not a regulator. It's not there to govern. So what are we going to see happen here? The government going to take more of a closer, tighter stance on esports? We'll see. They've done a lot of encouraging things over the past year, supporting, promoting the likes of the ESL One Birmingham tournament, meeting London Spitfire, talking to the industry about what they can do to support esports, pumping £4 million into this Weaver project, which is looking into how esports are viewed and new sort of interesting viewer technologies, AR technologies, VR, all that stuff. So it's interesting. So okay, back to the report then. Social media was also on the agenda, and they're talking about we need to have better policies to prevent content or activity that harms individual users, and do better basically to prevent people being addictive to games design or social media, and that we must have procedures in place to take down misleading deepfake videos. So a quote from Damien Collins, an MP who's the DCMS committee chair for this inquiry. He said, "Loot boxes are particularly lucrative for games companies but come at a high cost, particularly for problem gamblers, while exposing children to potential harm. Buying a loot box is playing a game of chance, and it is high time the gambling laws caught up. We challenge the government to explain why loot boxes should be exempt from the Gambling Act." So, there's a lot of implications here for games publishers, people in the games industry, in the UK and, globally as well, because they're going to have to think about this. Belgium has already banned, I believe, loot boxes in games on the sale of it to minors. Could the UK follow suit now? And the report's also called on more research to be done around gaming addiction, and cited one example of a player who built up debts of more than £50,000 through spending on microtransactions in RuneScape. And they want the industry to contribute financially to independent research via an industry levy administered by an impartial body. Sorry, I'm getting some of these words wrong. I'm saying them wrong. It's a bit late, and it's time. It's my bedtime. And yeah, I found this interesting. MPs expressed disappointment at the way some representatives engaged with the inquiry, describing some of them as willfully obtuse in answering questions about typical patterns of play, while others demonstrated a lack of honesty and transparency in giving evidence, which made the committee question what these companies have to hide. And another big thing, there was also concern expressed around age ratings, and the fact that downloadable games like CS:GO, Dota and so on don't actually have age ratings that are enforceable by law. There's a voluntary thing encouraged by the International Age Ratings Coalition, but in the UK the only enforceable age ratings for games are those applied to boxed games. That's how I understand it anyway, and that's what's implied in the report. So, this report is recommending the UK government advise PEGI, which sets the game age ratings for box games in the UK, to apply the existing gambling content labelling and corresponding age limits to games containing loot boxes that can be purchased for real world money. And that we may need legislation to protect children from playing games that are not appropriate for their age. And there was some other concerns around VR technology and what kind of immersive experiences there might come from VR, and how that will impact people. And there's a quote I pulled here from the Royal College of Psychiatrists that was in the report. There should be no in-game spending by children. Children are less prepared to deal with the potentially addictive nature of some modern computer games, and are less able to make informed decisions about spending. And And then there was some things on gaming addiction and some examples here. An interesting thing here that I wanted to highlight: a study of World of Warcraft players found that less stressed individuals managed to play Warcraft to enhance their offline lives, but by contrast, more highly stressed players further magnify the stress in their lives by playing the online game extensively, i.e. they seek refuge from their offline problems in the game but actually end up magnifying them. And some interesting anecdotes here from Matus Mikus, I hope I've pronounced that right, of the Game Quitters Network, who said that playing games like League of Legends with strangers, he found that very stressful because of the abuse he received and the layers of reward there. He said that, you know, there was days where I'd come home, it would be at 11 at night and I didn't want to play, but I was like, there's this reward. If I play just this one game and win it, I get these extra points. I would lose that game, but I think, you know, I need those points now. I need to play another game. Sometimes you would be 3 or 4 games into that final one. It would be 2 in the morning and I'm sitting here thinking I didn't want to do this. So, you know, there is, you know, and the games industry and gamers have been very resilient of, there's no such thing as games addiction and there's nothing wrong with loot boxes. But I think that thought is that sort of idea is starting to change now. I think gamers are recognising loot boxes, there can be a problem there, especially for children, and you know, regulations might not be a bad thing. You know, the gaming, I'm sure gaming addiction is a thing, probably with a small percentage of gamers compared to the rest. You know, there's a lot of gamers out there. Most gamers I know play absolutely fine. They manage their lives fine. You know, they've got a job and everything. It doesn't eat into that or affect it. I think someone said, I remember reading the definition of addiction is something like where you do something to excess. So much so that it starts impacting on your life in a negative way, something like that. You know, there's nothing wrong with playing games a lot. You know, playing World of Warcraft hours at a time. It's, you know, knowing when to stop, when to go to bed, when to, you know, make you getting to your job on time, all that stuff. You're going out talking to friends, family. I'm saying going to bed on time, and I'm up here doing this blooming video. Anyway, I ended on this quote. I thought this was quite interesting. This is from a former Google design ethicist and co-founder of the Centre for Humane Technology, Tristan Harris. He said, "A slot machine handles addictive qualities by playing to a specific kind of pattern in a human mind. It offers a reward when a person pulls a lever. There is a delay, which is a variable. It might be quick or long. The reward might be big or small. It is the randomness that creates the addiction." And, you know, I have to admit, I've had that a bit from games before. I've had it. I don't want to crap on League of Legends because I love the game and it's great, and, you know, people should be encouraged to play it correctly. But some of the loot box in there, I forget what they're called now. They're not called loot boxes. They're called something else. Where you pay money, you pay for RP points, and then you get like 10 things in this loot box. It could be skins, it could be emotes and things like that. And you know, there's deals. You know, if you spend a certain amount, you'll get one free or get free and things like that. I've spent 20 or 30 quid on those things in the past, and I didn't feel good afterwards. I did feel good when I was opening some of the, you know, seeing some of the skins, but then afterwards I felt like, damn, I spent 20 quid on skins and things, you know. And I'm not saying I'm addicted or anything like that, but I do think, especially for me as a parent now as well, I'm glad that the government are looking into this stuff, because I have a different perspective on things. And if you're watching this and you're not a parent, you won't have that, what I've got, maybe so much. Maybe you'll think differently if you become a parent in the future, because I certainly do. You know, I don't want my son going on a game and, you know, accidentally logging into my account somehow and putting 300 quid on my bank statement. I want to know when he's playing a game. I want to see that game page. I want to see that warning, this contains microtransactions and things like that, you know. Because, you know, we've seen all that stuff from the App Store, haven't we? Kids racking up thousands of pound bills. It's, yeah, the responsibility lies with the parents, but I think the games industry could be doing more to better inform parents, in my opinion. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that sort of analysis of a story that I've written on the site. If you want more of these kind of videos, let me know. Rather than news roundups, I'm happy to do them. I think I'll just do it for like the bigger stories and then offer my opinion as I go. And cheers for your support on the site as always, and I'll catch you soon.